Hello and welcome to Mostly Minnesota Music Podcast Edition. I'm Ann Tracy. I'm here with my co-host,
Heather Baker.
and we are excited tonight to be with Taylor James Donskey. Welcome.
Hi there. Thanks for
Hi.
having me.
Yeah, I know we've got some stuff we want to talk about. I know you've got the songwriter series, but even before we get there, I'd love to hear a little bit about you. I know you did put out an album right in the
Yeah,
before times, and you've
yeah,
played
just
with a million people, but you tell
yes.
us.
Well, the number isn't quite a million, but I am thinking about getting one of those McDonald's sign like 100 million people played with kind of things. But yes, just before everything kind of took a grand pause, as it were, I happened to put together a record called Paper Over It. Had a lot of fun recording it the summer before, releasing it in January of 2020. What a serendipitous time for for
Yes.
a lot of folks. I had a couple other friends too that also made some records and released them then, and we were all so filled with joy and verve and zhuzh, and then it all kind of went down,
Oh,
didn't it? But over the course of the pandemic, I did happen to explore the instruments a bit more, and write some new stuff. So I'm excited to kind of come out of it swinging, as it were.
great, great. I mean, I like the paper over it. I really like a friend. You're too far away. That was the song that I really,
I'm glad you like that one.
yeah. I think it's a very touching song.
Oh, I'm glad you think that. That was a song I wrote for a friend of mine who, you watch some friends from time to time go through things, and they're not readily available to be open about it, or they're not ready to talk about it, and so watching them sort of fade away, socially, but also just emotionally, and the idea is that I see you doing this, but we're not going to let you go. You won't get away that easy. Is sort of the moral of that story, and since then, that friend, they've come back around
Oh,
for
nice.
how awful it became. Shortly after that song was released, they certainly found another
Oh, well,
another
that's
path
good.
in life that we're excited to have them on.
Well, I'm especially glad given the time that's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other song that I want to make sure that we mention is Today because I
Oh,
love the video.
oh, you like the video? Yeah, I woke up 5 o'clock in the morning, had to get that golden hour look. And I had a friend of mine. I was like, "Do you want to wake up at 5 a.m. and drive around the city of Minneapolis arbitrarily, as I hang outside the window with a camera?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, yeah, cool." I was like, "Yes." Yeah, I had a lot of fun writing that song. That's kind of the first like true love song I've ever really written. That was overtly about love and about sort of how you kind of melt into it, and find yourself a little hopeless, and totally unaware of how silly you are in that moment. And I also it was my opportunity to make this big kind of anthemic moment. And that song is actually sort of inspired. The way it's kind of constructed is it's inspired by the Live at Carnegie Hall with Bill Withers, that album. Which,
Okay.
if you ever drive down to, if you ever drive down, it's not Red Wing, but um, maybe it is Red Wing. But I was driving down to a gig, I think it was in Red Wing, and we listened to that whole album from Minneapolis to Red Wing or wherever this was. The entire album will play all the way through, and in one of his tunes, and actually in a lot of his tunes, it's Carnegie Hall. So after every single song, people are going nuts, and so what he does is he'll just be like, "Do you want to hear it again?" And and everyone's like, "Yes!" And so they'll just go right back into the chorus again, and everyone's just going crazy. And I've always really wanted to recreate that. So that song is sort of one of those moments where maybe they're not screaming for it to happen again, but I'm going to give it to them again anyways.
That's
Uh, yeah.
I like that. I like that. I won't name them. There's a band in town that I love to see that sometimes play the same song again, and never
Mhm.
sure if they realize that they just played it.
Yeah, and that's actually one of my things when I'm actually at a show. If I really, really like a song, I will literally scream out, "Play it again," right after the song is over. Because I liked it so much. Just play it again, please.
Well, and I know when I was a kid, that's how I listened to music. Same damn song on the
Over and
album,
over.
repeat, repeat.
Yeah, and your parents, I'm sure, loved it. Every time they played that record, like all the other songs were really nice, but that one tune was just like
That's true.
super quiet and like not at all good anymore. There's like a huge divot in the record.
That's
Yeah,
good. It got us the love of music that we have now.
yeah, it's easy. Just press a
Yeah,
button and it just runs right around in circles.
I know.
Yeah,
Well, and now you're kind of tackling songwriting, songwriter nights. I mean, supporting other
yeah,
songwriters, your own
yeah.
songwriting. It's also cool.
Yeah. The Minneapolis Songwriter Rounds. I've had the opportunity to go down to Nashville, Tennessee, a few times, doing some recording and just visiting with friends. And every single time, going out, seeing some of the best songwriters in the country get together at a bar, at a restaurant, and just one after another, just talk about their songs and play. And I found that format to be so engaging. Just as someone who's learning and trying to pick up new tips and tricks, it's just they're just laying it all out there, right there. And um, I always kind of wondered. I've seen it up here in the Twin Cities. I've seen it happen, but I really wanted to bring more of it to it because more to the people of Minneapolis, because it's a great scene up here with lots of really talented people, and I want them all to meet each other really badly, and I want them to play shows together, and I'm just so excited about everything, and we got to do one of them right before the pandemic in December of 2019. We had one planned for April of 2020, and you know, just
Yeah.
imploded, which was unfortunate. And so, like every 4 months during the pandemic, I got in touch with the folks over at the Astor Cafe, being like, "Hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah. Still
What's
here.
your plan?" With the specific desire of bringing back the rounds, and so we've got them twice a month, first and third Thursdays, and yeah, just excited. We just finished our second one last week. Our third is next week Thursday. Um, if this happens to air before next week
It
Thursday,
absolutely will. Yes.
wonderful. That's September 2nd. But the big reason, one of the big reasons why I was so excited to bring the rounds to Minneapolis was because of the format and what it can offer the musical scene, and that's the opportunity for many different people to get in touch with other songwriters, and in a more active way than, let's say, just going to an open mic. Not that open mics, aren't amazing, wonderful things. I'm good friends with, the folks at Sociable Cider Works and at Plums in St. Paul, and those folks are just great inspirations. I just wanted more folks to speak to each other, talk to each other live, and showcase their talents. And that format, the format of the Songwriter Rounds, allows for a network building, but also for a show to be as equitable as possible. Equity, especially in the last year, learning about equity and making sure that those who don't have that opportunity get that opportunity, and also asking folks who have the opportunity to give up that opportunity if they know of someone who deserves that, someone who is looking for that, someone who wouldn't normally find themselves in that situation. That is my hope, is that this is an event that becomes, something that is shared amongst all walks of life and all, styles of music.
So, kind of with that in mind, from planning to performance,
Mm.
how does that pan out? How do you get lots of people involved? What does that look like on the stage? Is there involvement before?
Beforehand, what I'm doing is I'm just reaching out. At this point in time, I'm reaching out to folks as we're getting started, and excuse me, when we're in the preliminary stages, when I'm getting folks all on a group email and all that stuff, we talk about the format, how it's all going to work. 5, 6 people on stage, trading songs and all that, and then there's a little clause that I have in a little reader that I send to everybody that talks about sharing your space. And in fact, having the opportunity and the suggestion to give up your space that you've been given by the folks who have brought you here. I know many people, but I don't know everybody, and I want the opportunity to meet many people, but I also want other people to essentially just, not have that encumbrance of needing to know a lot of people to get to where they need to go. Because that's just the world we live in. It's all about who you know. And I know so many people know so many people. And so my request to all of my songwriters that have been on the gig so far is that if you know of somebody that doesn't have the wherewithal, not the wherewithal, but rather the recourse to make it on this stage, let me know, give me their name. And of course, down the line, my hope is that I actually don't exist as such a central figure, because again, the idea of centering around one individual isn't necessarily equitable. And so my hope is that down the line, we can pass off the duties that I'm currently taking on to other folks in the scene, and to bring in new voices, new styles, new concepts, because without fail, every single time you witness one of these events, it's going to be something new, it's going to be something that you've never seen. And my hope is that as an audience member, you just, you really reap the benefits of seeing everybody on stage.
Since you've had two already, what have been some moments that have caught your attention during?
Some of the moments we've got lots of really dedicated, at this point, at least 4 or 5 dedicated people. I know it's only happened twice, but boy, are they dedicated. That just have come out. They're very, very dedicated, and they clap a lot. And I love an audience member with a good laugh, and we have at least one of those now. And beyond that, the on stage connection between everybody. We have a few questions that I ask a lot about, like, what's your songwriting style? We've had a few anecdotal moments where some unorthodox songwriting styles have emerged. One that involves lots of pizza and laying down on the ground, and being staring at the ceiling while you're playing music. I haven't tried it myself. I've certainly laid back in a chair before, but apparently this is the way to do it. My friend Francis is a strong proponent of being as lazy as possible.
Okay.
Great stuff, which I think lends to his style. He's got a very beautiful style that I think necessitates a relaxed stance, as it were.
I'm wondering if during this group you have a collection song or something with each of the artists of each night. If you do that at the end or something, it would be kind of cool to kind of have a stamp of that time and moment of your creation.
Yeah, we've done that, at least, in our first one we did. There's loose plans every single time I've put this together. Like, hey, we might play a song at the end, take a look. But it's kind of up to the moment. In our first one, we got into a little bit of Four Non Blondes. Which was a suggestion by my friend Laura Hugo, because, Laura Hugo is just a wonderful person. And she noticed once that my song Today, as we spoke about before, have the same chords, and in fact are the same progression, which was totally not the point of that song. I did not mean to do that. However, yes, my song was actually quite similar, so we played a little bit of that, and then we jumped into Four Non Blondes, which is just a wonderful sing-along, and a good favorite. But there isn't a standard final song quite yet. That's still in the works. Of course, this is a brand new thing, so we're gonna let it unfold the way it would, and see if something comes of it.
Yeah, the idea of ending with a specific song makes me think the sessions in Ireland, and I lived in Ireland for years, and they would they might end with the parting glass, but you're kicked out of the pub when they sing the national anthem, so yep. No one goes quite that far. But I always remember a lot of time in a lot of those sessions, people brought their instruments.
Yeah, they just kind of show up. Yeah, I had the opportunity of being a part. I was in Ireland just briefly, and I had the opportunity to sit down during one, not really play. I think I had been at the Guinness factory a little too long, and
Happens.
and I had a ukulele with me, and that's not really. I don't know if that fits in with the vibe there, but yeah, people bringing their own instruments. This concept isn't necessarily the same thing. It's more direct.
Yes, it's
The idea of people bringing multiple instruments is really really exciting and something that I would love to do. The format doesn't really allow for it, um, and also the space. We're working at the Astor Cafe right now. The space is a little tight, a little tight. But of course, maybe one day, they'll knock down that back wall they've got there and double their size, and we'll have a grand old jam.
turned it into an old country pub.
Yep, exactly. There it is.
But it's fun to think about how the audience members do get involved, and even if it's just as participatory. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I'm only going to speak for myself, but I feel like I could a little bit speak with Heather for Heather to say, I'm not bringing my instrument. Nobody wants that.
Need
But
to practice
go
a bit
visit.
more.
Yeah.
Sure, sure. Well, that's another thing too. My hope is that this kind of this brings out the best in every songwriter. Being able to share, share music. I remember when I was first starting, I was just like going to an open mic was kind of terrifying. Like, I'm gonna play this song I wrote yesterday, and you know, not knowing that it was going to be so welcoming. Especially in Minneapolis, in St. Paul for that matter. It's less about how good it is at the very start, and more about how much you do it. Because as I'm a teacher with most of my students, I say right now you're just starting. You're not supposed to be very good at it, and this is a space to get better and better. Maybe not today, but maybe tomorrow. And I think Minneapolis and St. Paul are a great growing medium for songwriters. And my hope is that the rounds are another level for songwriters to kind of come in and bring their best and meet new songwriters and meet new audience members.
Well, I was going to say it's a super creative space because you can bounce ideas, and for the audience you get to enjoy it, but you could have somebody just starting out or a parent to an active musician, or you know what I mean? You just have so many people that could take away so much information and the beautiful night of music.
Exactly, and that's where this format really shines, is that it brings together songwriters with songwriters, songwriters with audiences, like in the venue too, with the Astor Cafe just being so beautiful and very intimate. It is just it's just I don't know. It really grabbed me when I first saw an event like this. It just blew me away. I just was like, why isn't this the way in which songwriters organize themselves to share their music? And so I decided that I would I'd strike out on my own and make that happen. I'm known for talking quite a bit on stage, and just in general as well. I'm not sure if you've noticed so far, but one thing that I do on stage as a soloist is I say my name all the time, over and over and over again, as it is a very well. It's sort of an overused name in the world of music. Taylor James Donskey. The last one, no one knows. The first two, very, very obvious. And so I say my name quite a bit just so I can drill it into people's heads. But what I found out from years and years of playing with other people as a bass player is that not many songwriters really want to share their name with folks. And so I decided that I would take this opportunity as a host at the rounds to say everybody's name as many times as possible, and that's been very fun too, because you certainly come away from a session of the rounds knowing a lot more about people than you would with many other shows.
I think that's fantastic. I love to see a lot of different performers. I love the new band night, or when you're going to see lots of different genre, everything else. But as someone who's written reviews of shows for, I don't know, 10 years, I sure appreciate when someone says their name more than once because, say I'm going to go, say there are five bands and I know three of them.
Mhm.
The other two, I'm like, well,
Certainly hoping, yeah.
you know,
Yeah, and I want to let folks, be themselves on stage. Um, and if that person isn't, willing to share that stuff, that's their prerogative. I don't want to make people do things that aren't true to themselves. And so my acting host duty sort of takes on the whatever they might not wish to say. I'm gonna get right in there, get their name out there, get their Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn,
you name it.
Social security number.
social security number, PIN number. We've got all sorts of stuff. On their
We are going, Heath.
sign, moon sign, rising, zodiac, Myers Briggs. We just get the whole gamut, really. Yeah. Yeah.
One and done, one and done. Do you try to mix up, the genres, or is it just kind of like, here's what it works, and then people twist and turn their way to stand out, or?
I've not really organized anything as far as like genres and styles go at the moment. A lot of these first rounds are folks that I know and folks that I believe can bring me new folks to come in. And so my assumption is that as time goes on, I'm going to know less and less about the people that are joining us on stage, and that's very exciting. Because I'm hoping that as time goes on, I'm just going to slowly disappear, and you're just going to every 2 weeks, you're going to find yourself faced with, the opportunity to get, maybe your newest famous local songwriter, and so at the moment, yeah, no, we're just kind of throwing them up on stage and seeing what happens. It's been a real treat so far.
I was going to say, well, if you can find the next, like, Leon Bridges that was just a dancer and never sang before and was thrown up on stage, and there they are. Be like, thank you, Taylor.
Well, I don't want to take any credit for it. I want to let the scene of Minneapolis take credit.
Well, yes, but your idea helped blossom
Yes.
the opportunity.
I hope this turns into, the next thing that brings more people to more people to more people to more places to more sounds and all that. We are working on a tagline for the event, so if anybody out there in the digital space has any great tagline.
Okay, we got it. There you go. That'll give us something to do. Well, and speaking of, if folks are listening and they want to find you if they want to find the event, if they want to find you as the teacher, you as the artist, but how can people find you, and then what's the best way to connect with you if they want to be a part of the series?
If you'd like to be part of the series, you can follow us on Instagram at the Minneapolis, or at just Minneapolis Songwriter Rounds. It's currently our only social media, and we're going to stick with that for a little while. Facebook is sure to follow, a TikTok perhaps even, if I can figure out how that works. I just described it to my grandmother as flipping through channels on TV, back when TV existed, except now there is an infinite amount of channels, and the TV figures out what you like, which is terrifying. And that seems to fit with my grandmother. Now she's on TikTok, which is
That's awesome.
so yeah. If you'd like to find the rounds, however, yes, Minneapolis Songwriter Rounds online. You can also get in touch with me, Taylor James Donskey. That's also on Instagram. Those are the best way. Also, interface with your songwriter friends. They might know who I am. They can get you in touch with other folks as well. Because that's the whole idea. I'm trying to promote ethical gatekeeping in the music community. Ethical gatekeeping is a big thing that I'm after as far as a music scene goes. Gatekeeping, of course, can be very toxic, can be very limiting for a scene, and can really alienate certain audiences, certain artists, certain groups, and the rounds are an attempt to mitigate and sort of solve those problems. And no one should have no one should be hindered in their quest for glory and excitement on stage.
I think that's awesome. I think it's in some ways that mitigation, getting in or out of that mitigation is a two-way street, because there are some people who are rewarded for have been rewarded for very long for being very loud, and there have been people who have been not rewarded when they've tried to be loud. I mean, I think people are open to new voices, but then also to say to people who are shyer, it's time to raise your voice too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want to raise it on stage, that's why I'm there on stage with you. I'll be the loud guy.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a comfortable place for a lot of people, because I think we're in it. I'm hoping we're in a nice transition where that some of that balances out just a little bit. So that's good. That's good. So the next one is September 2nd.
September 2nd. Yes, September 2nd at 8 o'clock.
That's next week, right?
That is next week. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Can you tell us who is on the bill that night too?
We haven't announced it quite yet, so this is an exclusive.
Oh.
Ooh.
This will be, you'll see this soon. We've got Luke Callan, Laura Sellner, who also goes as Superior Clarinet, Christian Wheeler of the Kremlin Collective, and Dave Stoddard. And we'll have those four on stage starting at 8 till 10 p.m. at the Astor Cafe.
Awesome. 8 to 10 p.m. Astor Cafe, the first and third. It's hard to say that. First and third Thursday.
That's a lot of time. I'm just sitting here first and third.
First and third. Yeah. So thank you. It's so great to talk to you, and thank you for doing this and for telling us about it. And we'll try to spread the word, because I think it's a good idea, getting people in the room together. Yeah. It's fantastic.
Well, I'm certainly glad to be a part of it. I'm certainly glad to get these two guys as well in the digital space, at least recorded. I do a lot of my lessons here, and this is click and clack, my
Nice.
So yeah, thanks for having me, Heather. Thanks for having me, Anne.
Great. Thank you.
Right on.
Thanks.